Namaste. The judicial branch is one of the three branches of government in a democracy, right? You have the executive, legislative, judicial. So when we are running an entire universe, and there are many, many universes, within the universes, there's all these planets. According to Vedic scriptures, there's 14 planets in this realm, and then there is another realm, which is we are in the middle realm. And then the realm downwards has 28 planets or realms or systems, whatever you want to call. And so when we die and we haven't done a lot of good, we've kind of broken the rules, such people would be taken by the police or constable, right? So there is a police or soldiers and a chief court system of the hellish planets. And this particular system has authority over our planet, our Prithvi. If a person has broken rules and then the soul is taken to the hellish planets where there's a team of defense and criminal lawyer presided over by Citragupta and his team of millions and gazillions. And the chief justice is Dharmaraj Yamaraja. He is the head of the court system, and basically he has many children and he also has staff, and they are basically legislators. They keep records, and they're kind of scary beings. And these constables who come, sometimes from demonic planets, these demons or asuras kind of take up of the job of, because, everybody needs a job, to do the dirty work of giving punishments in these hellish planets realms. So let's go and find out about what is hell. My first question for Pandit Atul, who is a resident Vedic philosopher and expert: what is the definition of hell?
So, what is hell? That's really a fascinating question. I think many people have different ideas about that. Different religions have different ideas about what hell constitutes and how it works. We want to talk about it from the Vedic perspective. So, what is that? Well, basically, hell, or to use the Sanskrit word, narak, it's a place for punishment. It is not eternal. It's a place where we go to receive suffering which is proportionate to our misdeeds on this earth. This opens up a whole plethora of topics. What are misdeeds? What is proper conduct? What is the wrong thing to do? So these are all things that we can explore a little bit. The simplest test for what's a misdeed is something that causes harm to others, that causes waste, that causes disruption in the environment, or it causes some general harm and lack of well-being. So, it's not that hard to really imagine the sorts of things that might result in punishment in hell. The only difference is that in the Vedic conception, hell is not eternal, it's temporary. Furthermore, exactly what it is a place that we go with our subtle body. Our subtle body is mind, intelligence, and ego. But we're going there without a physical body. So we get kind of a special vehicle type body with which we can experience suffering, and it gets transferred to the subtle body, and we experience it in a subjective time that seems to go on for a very long time.
My second question, Pandit Atul, to you is: how far is hell? And somebody passes on, how do they get there?
Well, how far is hell is a very interesting question. Sometimes in TV and movies, we might see somebody opens a portal and poof, there you go. Demons come out of hell or people go to hell and that's it. But according to Vedic literatures, it's very far in subjective distance. When I say subjective distance, that's because according to the perspective of sages, it's actually a different view of space-time than we have. So when someone has done far more misdeeds than their good deeds, and they have earned a place in hell, earned some punishment, they get dragged along a road that's described as being hundreds of thousands of miles in length. And then you look at that and say, wow, that would take years to go. Well, yes, it is in subjective time a really long time just to get there. It's a type of torment, just going there. If you've ever been in a courtroom, you know that there's this kind of back way that they bring prisoners up, right? They come from the jail and then they get brought out into the courtroom, and you don't see that behind the wooden panels, they have, bars and locks and all that stuff. That's kind of what it is. There's a courtroom. There's a place where we go to get judged. And the judge's name is Yamaraja. He is the person who is the judge. He's one of the devatas, and he judges the deeds and weighs the good and bad deeds of every being who comes in front of him. And his servants are called the Yamadutas. The Yamadutas are very scary in appearance, and they are like the ultimate in police brutality. They have a license to torment, and that's what they do. It's their job. They're not demons. They are servants of justice, of universal justice. So when someone has committed too many transgressions at the end of their life, they get dragged off in the most painful manner possible, and they get judged according to their weight of misdeeds. Now, does that happen for those who are people who've done more good deeds? No. They also get judged, but they go by a different path. It's sort of like the sinful person it's like someone who gets an arrest warrant, and then the police go and they break the door down and they handcuff them and they drag them hogtied and they get thrown in the back of a van. And the person who has done a balance of good and bad, they get a summons in the mail and it says, please come to court at such and such time. Well, yes, death is not really an optional thing, but we get guided. We get, a guide who takes us there, and so that we can be judged. And then there's a waiting room area. So let's talk about that. That's called Pitriloka.
We've all heard about Pitraloka. Pitra means ancestors, Loka means planet. Can you tell us about this planet or realm of Pitraloka?
Pitriloka is kind of like an entire planet. It's an entire realm. So calling it a planet is not really accurate. It's more like it's a realm. It's kind of a place that we go to that you can't get to by normal means. It's a waiting area. So if someone has done good deeds and some bad deeds, because nobody's perfect, right? We go there and we wait. We get a judgment, and it's decided what our next birth will be. Maybe someone did a lot of good deeds and they gave a lot of charity and they worked for Doctors Without Borders. So in their next life, we need to find a really good family for this person to be born in because they've done good deeds. They deserve to go up. They are not deserving of hell, but they have to wait a bit. Why? Because fate is like a tapestry. It gets woven, and it's woven with the lives of others. Who are your mother and father going to be? They have to be the right people, because those are the people who are going to raise you, and that's going to have a lot to do with your next life. Are they great parents or good parents or lousy parents? This is all part of our karma, and we wait in this waiting room area called Pitriloka while this is all getting set up.
In Christianity, hell is often understood. It's a place of eternal punishment. It is portrayed as a place where there is non-stop suffering, torment, and darkness, and it goes on till forever, eternity. So who goes to hell? Those who have committed grave sins, or they have not accepted the Savior, according to Christian belief, right? In Christian belief, hell is opposite of heaven, and heaven is where saved souls go, and hell is this place where there's fire and anguish and suffering and eternal sins and so on. Now, the interpretation and detail of the hell in this Christian theology is different. Some view it as a place which is physical, and other view it as metaphorical. Now, it is different in Vedic. In Vedic religions, in Vedic philosophy, Hinduism, and even in Buddhism, concept of hell is a little bit different. In the Vedic religion, what we call Sanatana Dharma, we believe in a cycle. Neither happiness nor suffering can be eternal, meaning there is a cycle of life, birth, death, and then rebirth, reincarnation. So we call the hell Naraka, and some people say it's Patala, but it's not Patala. It is Naraka. Naraka is a different part of the universe, and it's a realm where punishment is given, very similar to what it said in Christianity. There are set of rules. If they are broken, there's going to be punishment, but the punishment is temporary. It's like if there is a person who stole something and then they were brought in front of the judge, it is the first time offense or whatever, and they got community service, or they got they probably stole something which is really expensive. You are going to go to jail for 3 months or 4 months or something like that. And after they've gone to jail, their time is up and they're released out of jail, right? Similarly, in the Vedic Sanatana Dharma Hindu concept, the soul is taken to hell and they're given a punishment. And after the atoning of the punishment, the duration and the karmic debt is paid off. Then they're done. Then they're released from this hellish Narak jail and they are given a new chance. So they're reincarnated back on Earth or a lower planet, depending on whatever their karma is. So they can, restart again, because it's a cycle. You have a chance again to do something good. And this time they have a chance, if they do something good, to go to heaven. So it's more like a Hollywood story of redemption here in the Sanatana Dharma rather than eternal. It may feel like it is eternal suffering because it's a lot, but it's definitely temporary. So that is one of the big differences between the Christianity concept of hell and Hinduism and Buddhism. Now in Buddhism, they also call hell Narak also. But, they also, similarly, Buddhists believe that it is a place of intense suffering where there is torment because of negative karma, right? Same. Again, it's a place for atonement. And you go, you atone, and then you come back. You are reincarnated. The reincarnation and a new chance and a new beginning, a new chance to live a higher life is given.
So, what are some of the differences between the biblical conception of hell according to Judaism and Christianity and the Vedic conception of Narak or hell? Well, one of them, as we've mentioned, is that hell in the Vedic conception is not eternal. It just is subjectively so long that it might as well be eternal, but it's definitely not. The other is, what is hell and how is it ruled? According to the Vedic conception, hell is ruled over by Yamaraja, the Lord of Punishment. He is also called Dharmaraj, the Lord of Dharma. Dharma can be translated as religion, or you could say doing the right thing. Sometimes people say, hey, I'm an atheist. I don't have any religion. Well, sure, you have a dharma. Your dharma is to do right by mankind. Your idea of divine is to be doing good to humankind. Of course, there are some people for whom that's really not a conception. And, that's another thing altogether. In fact, there's actually a lot of people who claim to follow a particular religion, but they are really anti-humanist. But that's another topic for another day. So, this is one of the differences, is that hell is actually a place, it's kind of like a reformatory. It's like a prison. It's like a place to get, punished for misdeeds and then have a chance to start over again. So the law of karma is very intricate. We have an opportunity in the human form of life to do the right thing and to move upwards. And when we misuse that human form of life, and when we do things, especially when we do things that cause pain to others, that degrade others, that stop others in their progress upwards, that waste resources, that cause harm to the environment, we have to experience suffering. There is a reaction for that. And partly the descriptions of hell are given as an impetus for people not to do the bad things, but some people will do them anyway. Maybe they believe there's no reaction, but in general, it's because they really think they are entitled to not have to follow the rules. That's just generally true of anyone, regardless whether they believe in hell or not. But really, this concept of there being Satan, who is like God's enemy and who's a fallen angel who's been cast down eternally, is something that is found in the biblical conception. But even in the biblical conception, it's just a little questionable. Is Satan actually someone who exists independently of God, or who exists at God's grace? That's another thing. But in the Vedic conception, everything is under the control of the supreme person, and hell is just another place. It's just like the prison is under the control of the government. But the prison is a place for people who misbehave. And it's supposed to be a place where people who misbehave learn not to do that and to improve their behavior. So that's basically it in terms of the Vedic conception of hell. All right, so let's get back to talking about hell. Does hell last forever? That's another great question. Some religions, like in Christianity, Judaism, according to biblical descriptions, the hell is described as being an eternity. But according to Vedic literatures, it's not eternal. It just seems that way. In subjective time, it may seem to be many lifetimes, hundreds or even thousands of lifetimes that we suffer. But that's subjective time. In actual objective time, it might only last for a few months. But remember, we are placed in a special type of covering, a special type of place to experience suffering. Now, there are actually different purposes for hell. Imagine for a minute someone whose entire existence is centered around eating as much as possible. Well, there's kind of a logic in that says you might as well just be a pig. If your goal of life is just to eat and stuff yourself like a pig, well, hey, you would probably like to be a pig. But there is also a type of training that's needed, because we go from one physical body to the next in our sukshma sharir, in our subtle body. And the subtle body needs some adaptation to be able to adapt to life in a pig's body. And so one way that happens is that the soul in the subtle body, who is to enter a pig's body, is made to eat different disgusting things that pigs will happily eat. Once they reach the point where they decide that this disgusting thing is really nice, disgusting stuff, and that other disgusting stuff is disgusting stuff I don't care for as much, then they're really ready to be a pig. So that's one of the purposes of hell. It is kind of a transitional place as well as a place for punishment.
I think we've established hell, whether it's Vedic or a Western religion, doesn't matter. It's a bad place. You don't want to go there. What is it that you should do to avoid going there?
Okay, so finally, we come to really the essential thing. What can we do to avoid going there? What could we do to avoid going to hell? Well, really the principle of doing good, of doing the right thing, means that we do things that are positive, that contribute, that uplift, that make the lives of others better, that help us to live more in harmony with nature, that help us to develop sattvic qualities, to not cause pain to others. This is such an important thing. The concept of ahimsa, or non-violence, is very important. And if we have been given the opportunity of the human form of life, we should use it for development of higher consciousness. That's kind of the whole point. When we use human life for the same things that animals have, which are eating, sleeping, having sex, and defending ourselves, we are not really better than animals. Now, we're not anti-animals, not by any stretch of the imagination, but animals are not capable of inquiring into the purpose of human life. Why was I born? What's the purpose of my life? What am I meant to understand? These are questions that we ask in the human form of life that animals do not have the type of refined and developed consciousness. And if we try to be more animalistic in our approach and try to view things only from the perspective of, what can I eat? How can I defend myself? How can I find yet another partner to mate with? These are just means that we're just using our human form of life for the wrong things. So we should try to find a higher purpose. We should inquire, and we should try to find that higher purpose in life and try to find ways to move upward and help others to move upward. That is probably the best kind of advice that you could give for not having to undergo the kind of negative correction of accumulated bad karma that is called Naraka or hell. Thank you very much.